Hi, this is Christopher Spera, live from iTech Gear Central and itechgear.org. Today, I've got a really cool and timely unboxing for the iPhone 15 Pro Max Titanium. All right, now I am coming from an iPhone 14 Pro Max. All right, all backed up and everything. And what we're going to do is to take a look at the 15, see what's going on with it comparatively, and then unbox. What do you think? All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the differences between the two devices. All right, because they're largely, and everybody knows this, Apple is never revolutionary in anything that they release, despite what you might think about the Vision Pro. All right. They looked at what else was around and then improved upon it and made it what they feel is a better offering. The same thing here between the iPhone 14 and the iPhone 15 series. All right. They saw what was good and what the people liked versus on the 14 Pro series and came up with some evolutionary related changes for the 15 and the 15 Pro series. All right. So there one is better than the other, but it's not all the same, right? It's not all the same. All right. Obviously, because then you wouldn't necessarily buy the next phone. But they aren't talking, huge leaps and bounds one year over the next. All right. It's an evolutionary process. You might find, a phone two or three or maybe even longer generations down the road, a more compelling upgrade than going from 14 to 15. All right. But let's talk about the differences just a little bit. All right. The screens are effectively the same. All right. 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display, ProMotion technology, and always on display. Fabulous looking screens, right? You've got one with a stainless steel with texture matte glass back, and that's your 14 series, 14 Pro series, right? And then a ring and silent switch, and we'll get to that in just a second. And then, with the 15, you've got titanium, right? You've got aircraft or spacecraft grade titanium, all right, with a matte glass back. And then there's like an action button, all right? Now, right now, you can make it do like one thing, right? It's either going to do the whole um, uh, mute, unmute, or it's going to take a picture for you, or it's going to um, couple of other things that are there, but it's only one. It would be really nice to see, okay, if I do one push, it does this. If I do two pushes, it does this. Three or a push and hold, it whatever. You get me? Now, I'm hoping that there's either going to be some level of third party app that takes control of this and adds that functionality now, or Apple will go ahead and do it later, all right, and give us that kind of functionality because that one button is screaming tweak me, all right, not twerk me, tweak me, all right. Now both devices have that wonderful dynamic island, kind of revolutionized the way the phone works, and those phones that do not support it versus the phones that do, you can definitely see and feel a different way of interacting with the phone. If there was a revolutionary new sort of thing in iOS, that's probably the latest thing that actually hit the market that was the latest greatest really cool thing. It changed the way that you interacted with your phone. It changed the way that the phone worked, and it actually made it a little bit better. Um, so, um, all the phones now in the 15 series come with the dynamic island. All right. Whereas the 14, I believe it was the Pro series only. So the Pro and the Pro Max. 15s, all got them. All right. Now, let's talk processing power. All right. The 14 had the A16 Bionic, which is a 6-core CPU, 5-core GPU with 16 core neural engine. The 17 A17 Pro is in the iPhone 15 Pro series, and you've got a six core CPU, a six core GPU, so one more than the older version, and that 16 core neural engine. Okay. Um, so you've got a little bit more processing power. You're going to see a little bit more in terms of graphic performance. So your gaming is going to be a little bit better. All right. You're going to see uh, better video performance overall. All right. So this one is a better multimedia machine, if you will, than the 14, which, by the way, is not necessarily saying, a bad thing. The 14 is still very, very good at what it does. All right. So if you've got a 14 Pro Max, don't think that you're simply based on the processor that you're missing out on anything. It's a small bump. Now, yes, it is 3 nanometer, and it is going to be a little bit faster overall, and it is going to be a little bit hotter because those pathways are all that much shorter, and there's not a lot of heat dissipation. And the device is kind of thin, so it's going to be warm. Don't say you didn't get warned. It's gonna when you pump it through its paces, get ready to feel a little heat feedback because you're gonna get it. All right. Now let's talk camera. All right, because really at this point, what do we really want out of this device? Yes, the processor and gaming performance is pretty awesome. All right, you're going to be able to do some really nice things with this new device, this new 15 series device on the Pro side, versus on the older versions. All right, the 14 and the 13. Your camera though is really what a lot of folks really depend upon and are really looking to do more with on this device. It's the camera that you always have with you. It's the camera that you have everywhere at every time. All right. See something that you want to capture, click or push, stills or video. Great stuff. On both, you've got that 48 megapixel ultra wide telephoto lens, all right, which is pretty cool, all right. On the 14, you get super high resolution photos with 48 megapixel. On your 15 Pro series, you get super high resolution photos, but at 24 megapixels as well as 48. So you've got half, which there's some real computational photography going on here. There's a lot of enhancements to these lenses that will get you perhaps just as good of a picture at 24 megapixels on your 15 Pro series as it did in 48 megapixels on your 14 Pro series. Now, why is this important? Just as good of a photo with half the storage requirements. So your storage is going to go a little bit farther. It's not going to be eaten up by all of those pictures, all those videos that you have, unless you tweak it to those settings where you're always higher, right? But you should get better pictures with lower storage requirements, giving you a little bit more time to fill your phone with the memories that you crave. All right. Now, the cameras also have a portrait mode with focus and depth control on the 14 series Pro, on the 14 Pro series, right? On the 15 Pro series, you've got a next generation based portraits and focus and depth control, whatever that means. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. You're going to be able to get those wonderful, wonderful half zoom, 1x zoom, 2x, and 3x zooms on your 14. But what it really means is on your 15, you're going to get a 0.5x, a 1x, a 2x, and a 5x zoom. So you're going to be able to get in there a little bit quicker. You just need to make certain that when you get in there with that 5x, find something to steady yourself on and then watch how you hold that camera, because I'm telling you, when you're really in there tight, those little itty bitty micro movements that you make that you don't necessarily see all the time, they're going to make a huge, huge difference. So just watch with the newer camera. All right. You're going to need maybe to stable yourself or make certain that you are as motionless as possible. All right. From a communications perspective, the SOS features that are on the 14 Pro Max have largely been continued on the 15 Pro series. So you've got your emergency SOS, you've got the emergency SOS via satellite. All right, you've got crash detection and roadside assistance available via satellite should you need it. All right, you're still going to get 29 hours of worth of video playback on your 15 Pro series, as you did with your 14 Pro series. All right. Now here's one of the bigger changes that you're going to see: Lightning versus USB C. All right. This effectively means that now you've got one cable to rule them all. If you are a mixed household, meaning some of your folks have Android phones, some of you have iPhones. All right. You've got now the universal charging cable. Nobody's going to be snaking off with your cable. All right, which happens to me and my wife all the time. The kids are always coming down, taking our cables, going upstairs, keeping them in their rooms where they completely and utterly disappear. I swear, they're gonna move out one day, and I'm just gonna find an eyeball high pile of cables in the room that I can't use anymore because they're all lightning cables that they've sort of pinched from mom and dad. All right. Now, every cable works on every phone with USB C. The only thing that you have to go ahead and understand here is that this is um, really a USB 3 based or USB 2 based sort of connection. Um, on a true USB based cable or USB C based cable, you are going to get up to 20% faster data transfers over the cable. All right. But for charging, USB 2. That's it. All right. And you guys need to understand the differences there. It's going to be fast, but it's not going to be that fast. You still got your Face ID on both. You've got fast, super fast, ultra wideband based 5G connectivity, which for Verizon is the 5G UW. For T-Mobile, it is 5G UC, and for AT&T, it's for whatever version of 4G that they're pushing as 5G. All right. So let's keep that particularly in mind when we go looking for service. All right. On the actual device itself, on the actual front of the device, you've got that ceramic shield front, which is supposed to be tougher than any smart glass. You've got that on both the 14 Pro series as well as the 15 Pro series. You've got surgical grade stainless steel around your 14 Pro, but again, around your 15, you've got that nice aerospace grade titanium, all right, which is going to help you go ahead and keep it safe, but it's also going to be just a little bit lighter. Your water resistance, however, is still going to be at about the same 6 meters for 30 minutes, and you should be good to go. MagSafe, cables, wallets, cases, chargers, etc. Both are MagSafe compatible. And if you don't have a MagSafe case, get yourself one. If you don't have a MagSafe car charger, get yourself one. Throw it on the thing, let it sit. All right. Drive hands free. All right. Um, some changes in the storage capacities this time around. With the 14 Pro series, things started at 128. They went to 256. They went to 512. They went to 1 terabyte. Now, 256, 512, 1 terabyte. 128, gone. No more. All right. You're going to be probably a little bit happier going on. You are going to get charged just a little bit more this time around. I believe it's about $100 more expensive, but you're going to start out at that higher storage level. You're going to get twice the storage you had last time. If you were a 128, you're now going to get 256. Otherwise, you're going to get a better overall device. The displays are about the same ProMotion 100 ProMotion based displays, 120 hertz, always on HDR 2796 by 1290 at 460 pixels per inch. You're going to get a 2 million to 1 contrast ratio on both devices. True tone displays, wide color display, your P3 haptic touch, 1000 nits brightness, 1600 nits peak HDR brightness, and then 2000 nits peak brightness for outdoor. All right, which is going to be a important thing. And with the 15 Pro, it's going to be a little bit easier to see than the 14s. It's a little bit brighter. You're going to be a lot happier. All right. The brighter it is, the more battery it burns through. So watch and adjust your brightness after you go back in. You're gonna notice it. It's gonna hit you. All right. They are a little bit. There's a little bit change in terms of overall device height, and when we actually open this baby up and we take a look at it, we're gonna hopefully see little to no difference. I mean, you're really talking somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe zero point 0.1 millimeter. So your older cases may work, or they may rattle or feel a little bit loose. We're hoping that the case from Carved still works, because that particular case is a nice burl and resin case, even though it is purple and I'm rocking plain silver titanium. I'm hoping this thing will fit and work, and I won't have to order anything new, because otherwise I'm going to be very depressed. This was an awesome case, but it's a little bit on the expensive side. All right. We're talking about 3.05 inches or 77.6 millimeters on the 14 Pro series, and then 3.02 or 76.7 or point nine 0909 millimeters. The long and the short of it, kids, it's a little bit shorter. It's a little bit not as wide. All right. And it is zero point zero 0.01 inches thinner. All right, you're talking 7.85 millimeters versus 8.25 millimeters on the depth. So it's a little bit deeper, but not all that. Hopefully it'll all fit. If not, I could be screwed. It's also going to be a little bit lighter. You're talking 240 grams versus 221, so almost 20 grams lighter. This is the titanium. All right. It's gonna feel a little bit lighter. It's still gonna feel solid, but it's gonna feel lighter. All right. Um, so as I said, this is really the basics here. Why don't we go ahead, take a quick little breakaroo, and we'll pop the box and do the compare. How about that? Okay, enough horsing around. Let's get to the device, because this is really what everybody's looking forward to. All right, this is really what everybody wants to see. The box, the device. I have not opened it yet. All right, so let's take a look here and see what we've got. This is actually kind of nice. Very nice, very nice. The box in and of itself is about the same as last time, but as you can see, silver. I haven't gotten a silver phone. I haven't been in a silver phone in a long time. All right, I'm talking near more than a decade. All right, but with the choice of just about everything other than gold. All right, blue, silver, or natural, and then what was it? A white, and then a black. Decided to stay away from the black. I also decided to stay away from any color period at this point, simply because if I do keep it naked and it does get scratched, those colors have been proven to scratch. Now, I don't want to say very easily, but it is possible with very little effort to go ahead and nick that thing, even though it may or may not dent. All right, that color may flake off. So no color for me. Natural silver or natural titanium. All right. So there are two little Pelios on the back. We will yank those off. All right. And I'm not gonna do the setup on camera. All right. And there's a reason why. It takes a little while. This thing has got to be updated. iOS 17.0.3 has been released at this point, and if you are not on 17.03 on your older device, if you're upgrading, you better get there, and you better get there before you go. And here's why. This is going to want the latest version. 17.0.2 was required as an update before you got into your new phone. It wanted to update as part of the update process or swap process. Let it do that, and let it do that even with 17.0.3. All right. But what was the big thing about 17.0.3? It got rid of the overheating related bug that Apple had said that they were going to stomp. So we'll see how it goes. So I updated to 17.0.3 here. And so I'm also saying you're going to need to make these, because I did that here, I'm going to need to make that update here as well. They're going to have to be equivalent in order for everything to go, especially the eSIM, which was a pain in the caboose to get over last time because Verizon will only let you transfer one device to a new SIM per month, which is so stupid. So what do you do when you buy the whole family new phones for Christmas and you're on Verizon? What do you do? Well, you're out of luck, kids. Your Christmas sucks because Verizon, who, by the way, had to get me into this, it took them a bit. It took him almost 2 hours to get me here, but that's a different story entirely. Let me just say, not fun. Not fun. All right? Make sure they're the same release version of iOS and make certain that you update as part of the setup process. If you don't, you aren't going anywhere. All right? So let's go ahead and look to see what is in the box. You got the device, which we're going to take a look at in a minute. You've got a nice, very braided, very USB-C to USB-C cable here. Now, this USB-C cable goes right into the actual device. It will allow you to go ahead and charge, transfer data, etc. It will charge, I believe, at USB 2 speeds. It will transfer data at USB 3 speeds. So watch. But you're going to want to keep your eyes and ears and hands on that. And then this is everything else. And I believe that is all she wrote because there ain't nothing else and the back don't come out. So let's go ahead and put that back in there. In everything else, do you get an Apple sticker? You do, kids. You get your Apple sticker. And then you get some wonderful little information in here. And let me tell you something. Let's take a minute and talk about eSIMs, all right? Because this card from Apple says that you no longer need an or a physical SIM in order to get into your phone. All right, and this is what it actually says if you couldn't read it there, and I didn't really hold it there long enough for you guys to go ahead and get a real good gander. You no longer need a physical SIM card. Activate your eSIM during iPhone setup. For more information, go to apple.com/eSIM. Let me tell you something, all right? Regardless of what Apple says, all right, regardless of what any of the carriers may say, all right, the United States went to eSIMs and Apple exclusively on their iPhone 14 series, Pro series, and later phones as a carrier convenience for the carriers and as a manufacturing convenience for Apple. They no longer have to go ahead and worry about a physical SIM tray, space for a physical SIM tray, and space for the physical SIM card or reader. The problem here, yeah, that's not all that great. But the thing here, not a thumbs up. No, not a thumbs up. It's actually a thumbs down. All right? Yes, kids, it is a thumbs down. Why? I'll tell you why. All right. It's a convenience for the manufacturer. They don't have to put in the space required for that thing. And from a carrier perspective, it is easier to capture you and your information and keep you. All right. eSIMs are not easy for you to get out of one phone and into another phone. If you want to go from one phone that has an eSIM, you need to have another phone that has an eSIM. If that phone, your new targeted phone, doesn't have an eSIM or there's no eSIM support in it, you've got to get your eSIM transferred to a physical SIM. All right. Or you've got to hope that for whatever reason, um, you can live with that old number as the eSIM if the new target phone supports physical and um, um, physical, and that you just swap out the physical when you travel internationally or whatever. But they are a pain. If you remember the horror stories from the release of the iPhone 14, it was a pain in the butt. These things, for very few people, transferred correctly. It was a difficult time. I had problems. It was a bit of a bumpy road for my wife, but her experience was overall smoother than mine. But it did take a little bit more in a call to Verizon for some help or to Apple for some help. After I got those things straightened out, everything flowed like water. For me, no water. Nothing flowed. All right. It just stopped and wouldn't work. And that's because of a policy that Verizon has. You can only transfer one SIM per device per month. So, in other words, or per account per month. One SIM transfer per line per month. That's it. All right. So when I did my wife's first, when I tried to do mine, I couldn't transfer it. I had to get Verizon involved, and even they had a hard time. All right. It was looking like I had to go ahead and sit on my phone for 6 days. They finally worked it out. All right. On December 26th, 2022. But let me tell you something. It was not a fun time. And I don't see any real value in eSIM for the consumer, for you. There's it doesn't do anything for you. It's a convenience for everybody else but you. But let's talk about the device. Enough about that. Let's talk about the device. Um, Comparatively, all right, they're about the same, right? They feel about the same, but you can't. There, you want to say that the older version is just a skosh. You want to say that it. Oh yeah, I can sort of. You really can't. You really can't. It's going to be about the same. All right. Um, Taking off the wonderful little ceramic cover or the cover on the ceramic screen there. All right. You've got a very nice near edge to edge bezel on the phone. All right. It is very clean. And if you start looking at how does it stack up, and we're going to put them face to face just so that you don't have to worry about the camera bump edge giving you a little something something. This is them sitting, and you can just kind of sort of see. All right. Just kind of sort of see that the 14 is just it is effectively just that metal bezel edge. All right. The outside case is really what is the height difference. All right. And that's it. And I'm thinking the same thing for the width. All right. Um, but in that case, the 15 is just a skosh wider. All right. And that may be the death knell for the case that I'm hoping to save. All right. It's definitely easy to see the difference between the bottom slots. All right. You can definitely see the difference there. Oh, everything's backwards in the camera. All right. Everything's backwards in the camera. Let me see if I can line these things up. All right. And you can sort of see the USB C is a little bit wider. It's a little bit easier to see what's in there, what's going to be jammed in that USB C spot. You also don't necessarily. I mean, it's like I said. You can definitely see a difference between the lightning port on the bottom and the USB-C port on the top. All right, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes. From a right versus left side uh, perspective, and we are going to see the difference here. All right, in terms of the devices, but you are going to see, and I apologize for the. Let me do that and cover that flasher up. It is a little bit different in terms of um, where the placement for the buttons are, where the placement for the switch is. You're going to see it just a little bit. And that's my Mac desktop that you see there on the reflecting on the iPhone 14 Pro Max on the top. But you can see the buttons and or the switch are just a little bit closer to that edge, all right, or a little bit closer or farther up that device than on the 15. All right. Um, from the other side perspective, where you've got where the SIM card used to be and where the power button is, you can see those are about the same. Those are kind of sort of about the same, right? Maybe just a little, maybe off just a little bit, maybe off just a little bit, but they're about the same, right? About the same size and spot. From the back, all right, um, those are going to kind of look sort of the same too, all right, kind of sort of in the same spots, um, but maybe not entirely. Um, the flash is still about in the same spot. I think it is the background. You can see a lighter purple dot. All right, you can see a lighter purple dot on the 14 as opposed to the really visible where here. All right, for one of the other sensors. All right, and the flash, of course, on the top. Right, and basically the same. All right, and that's really so from a device perspective, and you can really feel this is really, I mean, it's very, very titaniumy, all right, if you will. You can feel the metal casing, all right. Here, um, it's slick. It's slick aluminum on this side, right? You're gonna see and feel. I mean, it's shiny, it's slick. This is that brushed feel you sort of look and see, and there's no reflection off of it as opposed to the shiny aluminum on this side, right, where you're seeing the desktop and folders and all sorts of wonderful things on my desktop. All right, but this is really the differences between the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Yeah, both are going to be fingerprint magnets. Both are going to be something that you are probably going to want to take a look at in terms of finding a case, getting a case, staying in a case, even if it's that just that plain old clear um, um, MagSafe case that Apple or SpyGen or somebody has for you, you're really going to want to take a look and get something, get this in something. All right, because even though I can go ahead and effectively drop it from shoulder height, man, who wants to do that and who wants to chance it? Who wants to chance it? I don't want to chance it. Get your case. Get your case. All right. This is Christopher Sparrow with iTechGear.org with the unboxing and comparison of the iPhone 15 Pro Max Titanium versus the iPhone 14 Pro Max Purple.